Welcome to the Meat and Potatoes podcast. Today we're joined by Tommy Joe Lucia, who is the executive director of the Utah Days of 47 Rodeo. Tommy Joe, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I am so good. Always one of my favorite times of the year. I think this is the fourth year we've had you on the podcast. And we're going to talk about stuff that is kind of eternal as the rodeo goes, then always some new stuff because it is an entrepreneurial endeavor. You've got macro markets and you've got a board and you've got to be flexible just like every other entrepreneur. But let's just set the table with the key facts. Days of 47 Rodeo is July 19th through the 22nd and the 24th, right?
Correct.
Utah State Fair Park at the beautiful arena that's still new.
Still new, 5 years old. Yep.
Yeah. And not a bad seat in the house.
There really isn't. You know, like I think I've told you in the past, we only have 7 seats that we have to mark obstructed. So you're on top of the action, which is good. It makes it fun. It's a great venue. And then lots of fun free stuff to do pre-event, from free mechanical bull rides and inflatables and encampments with Native Americans and pioneers. So you can really learn a lot about the development of the valley in the West right there.
It is all there. Like I half expect to see like school buses there on field trips because you've got Native American pioneer, the Chatos, the party rides. You got those longhorns with the guy cracking the whip.
Yep. Yeah.
Everyone's had whips around when that whip cracks. And just the shock of like, how do they hold their heads up? It is so fun. And especially if you go with your kids to just watch their eyes light up. But I've been with like just my friends and I've caught a little glint of mist in their eyes too at certain points in the rodeo because some of the performances are amazing. They're like kind of the halftime performances, right? You break it up a little bit. And there was one with a couple of horses and an old Cadillac, I think, last year. And oh my gosh, I'm watching my friends and they're getting real quiet and just watching that and having an introspective moment.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Well, cool. So how many years have you been leading the effort here?
I think we're going on the 6th year that I've been in town, and phenomenal growth and community engagement. And it's all about the product. We all know that at the end of the day, you can put another restaurant in town that serves the same chicken fried steak if it's good and your customer service is good. And there's a lot of rodeos. But this is an entertainment spectacular. This is 2.5 hours total. And we try to customize the product so that everybody from 2 to 92 finds something they can identify with. Yeah. And it's all based on competition. These are phenomenal animals against phenomenal athletes. That much holds true. But then you've got the culture and the heritage and the things that you talk about, the different portions of the show. That was Bobby Kerr last year. This year, it's interesting. We're bringing a French bull jumper, which is a sport in France. His name's Manu Latasti for the halftime show. If you get mist in your eyes, it's because you're scared to death, because we'll turn out Mexican fighting bulls these bulls have never seen humans on purpose for his jumping.
Oh, wow.
And then he'll conduct 3 to 5 of these master jumps. I'm talking about from the dirt, full front flips over a bull that wants to kill you. So this one will be a little more adrenaline charged.
Oh, boy. And there is always the chance that you mistime that jump.
Well, no, but that's like watching a NASCAR race, right? I mean, you don't want to see a wreck, but you don't want to miss it. Exactly. And I don't want anything to happen to Manu, so let's not go there.
No, yeah. That is going to be a lot of fun to watch. So for those that aren't quite familiar with rodeo, but like they've heard it talked about, there's some rough stock events with the bucking. You got the bulls and the horses, and then there's roping, and there's jumping off a horse and wrestling a steer. There's breakaway roping. So there's some cool finesse art, and like the barrel racing is amazing. High speeds, but a lot of angles and math there. So it really does like check all the boxes.
Yeah, it's broken into 2 categories: timed events meaning that these people are competing against each other with a clock. So whoever does it fastest wins. And then there's the ones that we're probably more used to in mainstream media, and that's the 8-second ones. And that's where it's an athlete against an animal, basically, or performing with an animal. It kind of depends on how you look at it. Now, these animals, it's so interesting. They legitimately, and if you come to our event, you'll see this is what they do. Yeah. They get their high when they see the cowboy off of them. That's their whole essence. They work 8 seconds at a time. And the bucking horses, I would say 50% of the bucking horses, the bloodlines of the bucking horses that will be at our rodeo, cost $200,000 to $250,000 a piece.
Yeah.
And so these are, they're athletes in their own right, and they kind of create poetry in motion. Now, some of it's a little more rough, bareback riding, where a guy hangs on with one hand. He's just doing everything he can to stay on the torque and the animal. Then you got bronc riding, where it's in a saddle, and it's a little more of a picture, right? It's poetry in motion. And then there's bull riding, where there's the combination of near death, 1,800 pounds. It's so funny because occasionally we'll take people and let them sit on the back of the bull before the show. And the bulls, as soon as something gets on their back, it's just like a prize fighter. They start to swell. They're like, open the gate so I can smash this guy. And those people that get on their back realize the power and the intensity and the adrenaline. Yep. And so you've got a little bit of everything. And then the entertainers out there that are, there for the kids to put smiles on their faces. We have from a technology standpoint, exciting this year, partnering with Sinclair and Dino. You'll be able to scan and go to the big screen with video off of your phone live during the show. So if you're having a good time and you want everybody to see you, and it'll also be on national television. Yeah. Well, you just download the app, you get on, and we'll see all the smiling faces, and we'll pick the best Dino fan cam people, and they'll go right to the video screen, which a lot of people are doing it. So now we're incorporating it in rodeo. So that'll be kind of fun.
Yeah, that'll be way fun, especially if you don't tell the people with you in the party that you're going to do it.
Well, and you need to make sure that you're on the correct date, right?
Yeah.
It depends on the situation you're in, probably.
No kiss cam.
That's right.
That'll be fun. I don't know if it's the picture on your website or a picture in the news story, but there's a bull coming out of the chute, and he's basically pointed straight down. And there's a cowboy or two that were in the bucking chutes, and they got a big smile on their face, right? Because he's either going to get a big score. That's probably why they're smiling. Right. But you'd look at the physics of that and you'd be like, I wonder what happened on this second jump, right? Because he's looking straight down at the ground. Yeah,
you're talking about, in many cases, those animals are vertical.
Yeah.
Right. And the instinctive training to shift your body weight to, it would be like trying to be in a NASCAR, right? And ride on the hood.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yep.
And that's what they're doing. And that's why when they do make a ride, and here's the interesting thing, is that all of these animals are now genetically paired.
Yeah.
And I've said this 100 times, we're not genetically pairing the cowboys. We're not taking necessarily an Olympic mom and a ski champion dad and creating a baby to be a cowboy.
Yep.
So the roles, the animals are genetically inclined to do this and love it. And we still got the same old cowboy that pulls his boots on, and we've all got a pair of boots in our closet. I always say, it's funny. If you look in your closet, a lot of us, even if we're not really rodeo cowboy, we're not.
Yeah.
Right? Look in your closet, dust off those boots, because when you put them on, I don't know. It's just, you know it because you have the history.
Yeah.
There's just something about, it's really our organic culture. The West. It really is. I think that's why Utah's such a great state.
Yeah. Well said. When you put those cowboy boots on, you usually have a smile. And there's a little nostalgia and history with those. Because they're utilitarian for a reason, And,
yep.
So for folks to get involved, obviously, like you can walk up and get a ticket. But there's corporate packages, which I want to espouse here because, again, like it's so much fun. It could be a reward for your team. It could be a team building thing. Are there still anything available as far as packages, ticket sales, anything you'd like the public to know about?
Well, what we have done is there are high-level media corporate partner packages, right? But what we really wanted to do, and Leave Moffett and I have created in the last couple of years, are packages that are for a lot of our businesses in Utah that allow for VIP treatment. So really, they're discounted ticket packages with some signage and a lot of VIP offerings. And those things range from $6,000 to $15,000, depending on how many people you want to bring. And that fits in a lot of marketing budgets. Mm-hmm. And it's 5 days worth of tickets. So whether it's your clients that you want to take, it's your team, and there's a couple of those out there and everybody loves them. And there's ones from sit-down white tablecloth meals with ribs and rodeo to a barbecue sandwich, a sit-down, you know what I mean, a little more informal, all with great tickets and experiential things. So those are available. I think we have a couple left. We also have just created and will be launching this year some new VIP staging areas within the new stadium, which includes some behind the bucking chutes where you can sit there and watch the guys get ready and see the bulls close like you have.
Yep.
There's a networking VIP area on the south end which holds 70. So you can go watch the rodeo in your seats or come up into this networking area where you're standing on a platform overlooking the arena. So there's a lot of different offerings. Some of them are still available. Definitely love if you're interested. We'd love to have you come as our guest, see what this is all about, and see if it works for you next year.
All right, perfect. Yeah, there's a definite mood swing and shift when you get closer and closer to the bucking chutes. And you can see the people's faces and you can see like the work going on and the energy level goes up quite a bit.
Yeah, when you hear those animals bend 2 3/8 inch steel pipe, and because they just can, you realize the intensity of the sport.
Yeah.
And then when you see these amazingly beautiful and talented horses that they're riding in the barrel race and in the roping events that are they're gorgeous and their eyes are so bright. And you see the relationship between the riders and the horses. All of those things are kind of that behind the scenes thing that you don't really realize when the music's loud and the competition and you're screaming.
Yep.
There's so much that goes into this, just like all of our businesses. It's all about relationships with our teams, our animals, and it's all there.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Oh, it is. It's a beautiful sport. I can't remember if I asked you this question before, but you would know firsthand. So there's an event called team roping, and there's a header and a heeler, somebody that throws first and goes for the head and the horns, and then one that gets the two legs trailing it. And it's a timed event. But I'm always interested in if they're partners, assuming they're driving in the same pickup going to rodeo. What is it like when the heeler misses the throw? How long before they talk to each other in between rodeos?
Well, it's interesting. That particular event comes from ranching where, you've got animals in the middle of 10,000 acres and they need to be doctored. Mm-hmm. And that's why they do that, so that they can lay them down safely and doctor them. And these guys, it's funny, they'll pair up. And I think there's an unwritten rule that you don't, because both of them will miss at some point.
Yeah.
But there's some of them that don't miss as often as the others. And what you really see is they're best friends, then they're finding a new teammate, right? They try to help each other through it, because I think even in our businesses, right? Usually the best way to help a teammate through struggling is with encouragement.
Yeah.
And so that's what they ride in the same truck. They put up with each other until they realize that they can't lose anymore.
Yeah.
And then they usually collectively decide that maybe a change of pace and a new team is what I need to do. So that's what you see more often than not. And there's so many variables, how he turns the steer, how did the steer run? And what ends up happening is when you should have made that catch, right? Everything was in line and you didn't. Then they start talking about maybe it's time to find a new forward on the ball team.
You don't want the yips in that
That's right.
tandem. That's for sure. There's been some really fun scenes and entertainment value because of the money involved. I remember a couple of years ago that if somebody would have covered on an event, I think it was calf roping, would have been $1 million.
$1 million for that one attempt.
Yep.
Yeah, and the Riley Webb was roping the Triple Crown. He just had to essentially do what he does every other day.
Mm-hmm.
And the pressure and the intensity he missed for $1 million. But that's what was kind of missing in the sport. That's why we have advocated our rodeo as more of a tournament style. So, this has traditionally in the past been kind of an aggregate style.
Yeah.
So you take all these competitive runs and the person who does the best on 5 wins. Well, what we've made it is you got to win now against somebody to advance.
Yeah.
That changes the game a little. But if you look at other sports, you might have been the best NFL team all year long, but you have to perform at the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Right. To get the ring.
Yeah.
And that's what we see. And you're right. He competed and there's $800,000 on the line. Gold buckle implications were PRCA Rodeo, again this year back as a sanctioned event, had made some changes in the past. So the buckles and the guys all want to be world champions in Vegas in December, right? Yeah. And this rodeo will push you way up the ladder to that. So you're right. There's a lot of pressure. It's changed. And the money's getting up there.
Yeah.
Now they're not swinging a golf club for $1 million a swing, but we're getting closer.
The Saudis haven't come over and asked if they can.
We're waiting for them to want to, get a team in rodeo. We are, yeah.
Price just went up. There's as we mentioned at the beginning, you guys have to be entrepreneurial. You have to change to a lot of things. You have to make sure it's entertaining and fun and all of those things. One of the things you guys have this year, to my knowledge, that is new is the Utah Cowgirl Collective. Give us a little bit of info on that.
Well, what we wanted to do is create the charitable wing of our event, giving back to the community. And so what we have created is the Utah Cowgirl Collective, which is a group selected of 6 young ladies, lots of different types, characters, but they have roots in having been a cowgirl. They've ridden, they've been on a ranch or a farm, their family's been in it. And so they take those values and they'll go out, and each of them will provide 300 hours of community service that can be applied through Utah Cowgirl Collective. And then they'll each get a $10,000 My 529 Fund scholarship to utilize either for themselves, their families. And so these girls are dressed. They'll be able to go in to sit down and read with homeschoolers or kindergarten classes. But when they walk in, you'll know by their boots, they'll have their Justins on and their Wranglers. They're kind of the real deal.
Yeah.
Right. They've been there, done that. You might even see a little green stuff. You probably will on their pants because they just left the barn.
Yeah.
And so we think that expanding that culture, giving inner city kids and really all of us, young ladies, a chance to interact. And we're working with Bridal Up Hope on a project. Bridal Up Hope's taken horses to Ukraine. And this is really, I think you'll find this interesting. They sent a bunch of psychologists, U.S. did, to Ukraine to help a lot of the women in the war, right? Very terrible situation. Well, what they realized was that a horse had more therapy on a lot of these women than the interpersonal counseling, right?
Wow.
So now Bridal Up Hope and the Rachel Covey Foundation is building a barn there for troubled women to help them heal. And our rodeo and the Utah Days of 47 and Collective is working with them to make that happen. But there's a connection between a horse. And so we want to be able to further give opportunities for people to get out, to get away. And you don't necessarily have to live downtown. Maybe you just need to step out of your current position for a moment and see that the trees are green, that the animals there love you just like you love them. And all of us need a little bit of that in our lives, and we think the Collective, 6 brilliant, beautiful, charming, and dedicated to service women are part of the Collective, and you'll see them out. My goal is that in 5 years, if you have that on your resume, that means something.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're off to an amazing start. I was not aware of that. I've had Bridal Up on the podcast before, and what a great relationship partnership there.
They're fantastic. What they do is amazing. They have a waiting list. And so we just want to help expand that, work with them. We had our second round of competitions for tryouts for the ambassadors there. Bridal of Hope is fantastic. Fantastic thing. They're selling tickets where we're giving $5 of every ticket right back to Bridal of Hope. They have a gala that will have a ranch in the auction that you can go up for 3 days in Wyoming and stay on a ranch. So lots of cool things. But Bridal of Hope is a great partner of ours. We're happy to be with them.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, if you're having a bit of a rough day, a rough week, rough month, go hang out with some horses. And even if it's unstructured, you should notice like an uptick in morale and your happy juices.
I promise you, I challenge you, if you've never done it, take a moment and just go walk in a stall in the stalls. I bet you've done it.
Oh, yeah.
Where there's stalls and horses. Take about 15 minutes. I don't care if you've never, ever been in one. Stand there and see if it doesn't heal something in you. It's just true.
It is. Absolutely. Okay. So we've covered like the dates, that there's still some great options for involvement, that it's going to be amazingly fun. But we haven't talked about smoking monkeys yet. And so you might know a thing or two about a smoking monkey.
Well, I did an article. I guess you must have read it. And so I started performing in rodeo with my father when I was 3 years old. So I've been in this culture and relationship. Went and got a college degree because rodeo doesn't have a great retirement plan.
Yeah.
But I've been blessed, extremely blessed, to be very successful within the space. And that story is derived from this. My dad and I performed at the Calgary Stampede. We were rodeo clowns and entertainers. And we would always, back then there weren't any cell phones or anything. You loaded up in a pickup with a camper on it, and you went all summer long. Well, one of the big things always was going across the border and the customs. And, Dad wouldn't always have the right papers for whatever animal was going across the border to perform in the Calgary Stampede. And I don't recall exactly how old I was, but I would say I was 8 or 9. And at that time, we had a chimpanzee monkey that we had gotten as an infant, and his name was Junkie. And Junkie was about the same size as me. And probably mentally, we were probably in line with each other. Junkie was definitely as smart as I was. And so here we're on our way to Calgary, and Dad says, hey, you get in the camper with Junkie, and I'm going to go across the border, and you make sure Junkie doesn't make any sounds or anything so we can get over there. Okay. Well, we get in the camper, and it's about, it's 95 degrees, and both Junkie and I are hot. So I just stripped down to my whitey tighties, and Junkie strips down to nothing. And we go, I can feel us slowing down to go across the border and to get checked. And of course, Junkie starts deciding maybe it's time to get out of the camper, and it's hot in here, and he starts jumping around. So I do what I instinctively think. Junkie had a fondness for smoking Marlboros. So I grabbed a pack of Marlboros real quick and lit up a cigarette for Junkie so maybe that would preoccupy him until we got into Canada. And Junkie sat down and he started smoking the cigarette, and I sat down and thought, whew, catastrophe averted here. Junkie, we're going to make it. Dad's not going to be upset. And about that time, I heard the Canadian Mounties and my dad walk into the back of the camper, and they swinged open the back door to take a look in, and there's a chimpanzee smoking a Marlboro, a 9-year-old in underwear laying on the couch. And the Canadian officials looked in, shook their head, told my dad, just go to Calgary. We don't want to talk about this. So yeah, Junkie was a good friend of ours, and a great monkey that loved to smoke Marlboros. And I'm sure a naked chimpanzee smoking a Marlboro and a 9-year-old kid in whitey tighties in the back of a cowboy's truck was a little alarming at the time. Yeah. But they let us roll right on through.
Thank goodness it happened when it did. I can't imagine what would happen in 2023.
Times have changed. Times have changed, yeah. He would probably be vaping. A vaping chimpanzee, right?
I love it. And that's one of the cool things about rodeos. There's hundreds of rodeos a day across the United States of America. And with that, there's billions of like funny, amazing, cool stories, and it's just like this rite of passage with.
It's
going
kind
to
of
these
like the
things.
Friday night football games, I would say, in Texas. All of these small rodeos at the county fairs, if you haven't experienced one, it's family. It really is. It's fun. It's wholesome. It gets back to what life's all about, right? And that outdoor sounds and smells, and the Ferris wheels, and the corn dogs, and the horses, and the livestock shows, where your kids realize that an egg isn't born in the refrigerator, right? Those things are cultivating.
Yeah.
We need to keep that strong in our country. Agriculture and that way of life, we have to keep it strong. We don't realize how vital it is to our heartbeat.
Absolutely. Well said, Tommy Joe. Thank you so much for the continued partnership. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Can't wait to go, and appreciate your time.
Now, I understand that if Manu is not able to jump his bull, Garrett, that on behalf of Silicon Slopes, you volunteered to be the bull jumper, as long as you had a Silicon Slopes jersey on. Is that right?
Take it to the bank.
All right.
I will provide the value and entertainment.
Garrett, the bull jumper.
Because I know the AMTs are right there, and they're world class. The chances of me dying are slim. Taking a beating, high.
Yeah.
But I'll do it if that's what is.
I just wanted to make sure you were still on board with that.
I'm in.
Okay, good.
I need a stimulus. So thank you, Tommy Joe.
Thank you.
You bet.